Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Total narrative collapse. Tucker Carlson does it again. Boy, has it been beautiful to see Tucker without the cuffs on. Awakened, enlightened Tucker, speaking his mind, challenging narratives without the narrative police at Fox News getting in the way. It's been a beautiful thing to behold. It's also probably why he got fired, because he was trending in that direction in the first place. You know, the recent realization that he came to.
Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that? Well, I've had a million regrets not being more skeptical. For too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist. And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that.
Well, now that Tucker Carlson is unleashed, it's just getting better and better and better. Here's a clip between two incredible individuals, Tucker Carlson and Russell Brand, that's currently breaking the internet as Tucker reveals that we were right yet again. What was once a conspiracy theory is now being confirmed as exactly what happened. Put another coin in the jar. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, we're talking about January 6th once again. You know, it's funny because the Democrats, the news media, and all of their mindless NPC lackeys have claimed that many of the stances that we hold on January 6th are conspiratorial. But if you really take a look at the record, there's only one side that keeps getting exposed as being liars on this particular topic, this particular issue, and it certainly ain't us. Tucker Carlson reveals another very uncomfortable truth in this viral moment right over here.
Law enforcement or military agencies had anything to do with it. That never crossed my mind. I never thought that it was a false flag or anything like that. I'm not a conspiracist by temperament. I never thought that. And then I interviewed the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, in an interview that was never aired on Fox, by the way. I was fired before it could air. I'm going to interview him again. But Stephen Sund was the totally non-political, worked for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this was not some right-wing activist. He was the chief of the Capitol Police on January 6th. And he said, oh, yeah. That crowd was filled with federal agents. What? Yes. Well, he would know, of course, because he was in charge of security at the site. So the more time has passed, now it's been 2.5 years, it becomes really obvious that core claims they made about January 6th were lies. The amount of lying around January 6th, and it was obvious in the tapes that I showed, is really distressing. And anyone who's covering for those lies should be ashamed of himself. And that would include almost the entire American media, including Fox News. But that's what it was. It was not an insurrection. And to put Jacob Chansley, an American citizen, a Navy veteran, in jail for years after he was let into the Senate chamber by uniformed Capitol Hill police officers, and then I play that and I'm the bad guy, fuck you. Like, what do you make of that? I'm sorry, it makes me mad just thinking about it. I said I wasn't going to be a hater. That makes me mad. And I see people on other channels, it's outrageous. He's trying to minimize January 6th. Well, but what? This guy went to prison. You ever been to prison?
Only for visits.
Right, okay.
It's not very nice.
You don't want to go to prison to take a man's freedom away and call him all these names for something he didn't do and then show no remorse at all when you are exposed to have lied about it. This is a human being who was locked away in a prison. It's an outrage to me.
Surprise, surprise, surprise to pretty much no one. Well, no one with an actual working brain. Obviously, the feds were involved. In every single one of these cases, you can call them false flag events, psyops. Feds are always involved. You know, simply refer to the Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot, and you could pretty much apply that operation to everything else. We already knew that. We've been saying it forever. The left has been saying that we're crazy, we're conspiracy theorists. It's just an excuse. Ray Epps is definitely not a Fed. Blah, blah, blah. Yet here's Tucker Carlson revealing to the world that at the time, Chief of Police of the United States Capitol Police, literally the guy in charge of defending the Capitol during that eventful day, told Tucker Carlson directly that there were feds undercovers all over the crowd. Another narrative BTFO'd. Maybe that's part of the reason as to why Fox got rid of Tucker. Maybe he was getting a little bit too based. Maybe he was flying a little bit too close first to the Sun, starting off with his exclusive access and release of January 6 footage, which completely demolished the January 6 committee narrative that was being built, while cowardly establishment Fox probably got a little bit scared. It seems like it could possibly be connected. If you go to the former Capitol Police Chief Steven Sun's Twitter account, on the 5th of May 2023, he wrote, "On the day that he was fired, Tucker Carlson was planning to air parts of our 1-hour interview and showcase my book. It was an interview that he was excited about and said it made the hair on my arms stand up, but Fox canned both Tucker and the interview. Coincidence? Probably not. There's probably some puppet masters at the top who don't want Steven Sun to speak anymore, because of course his initial media appearances from earlier in the year were bombshell narrative busters."
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I remember watching and just screaming, where are the reinforcements? How can these officers be left alone? How can we see our lawmakers running for cover, hiding for cover in the chamber with guns drawn in the chamber? How could that be? Were the people in power for the National Guard, for the Pentagon, were they not watching the same thing that I was?
People need to realize I'd called in 17 law enforcement agencies, 1,700 officers that was helping us regain control of the Capitol. The people in the Pentagon had to be watching the same screens that I was watching, that my family was watching at home, that all my police officers' family were watching, of the battle going on the West Front, and they weren't sending support. You know, they're sitting there thinking delay after delay after delay. I was on the phone with the Pentagon at 2:34 p.m. begging and pleading for help from my men and women, and they weren't sending anybody. Even though troops, 150 troops, were within half a mile, think about that, within eyesight of the Capitol, and they wouldn't even give them authorization to move.
It was a chilling day.
No wonder the January 6 committee never requested that he come in to publicly testify.
The restrictions I had as the chief, and ask yourself why the January 6 committee never requested that I come and publicly testify. Think about that. I'm the chief of the Capitol Police. To have me come down and publicly testify before the January 6 committee, because I think they were concerned. It would begin to show what went on the 6th, what went on the days leading up to the 6th, and what was the involvement of political leadership and their appointees.
Wow. Just think about it. The media wanted any excuse to report on January 6th. Any excuse to get somebody with relevant information, but of course not this guy. What they really wanted were people who are going to push their bogus narrative, and anybody else who had information to the contrary was simply left out of the process. Steven Sun has been focused on one thing and one thing alone: Capitol security failures. You know, kind of funny because even AOC at one point was asking a very similar question.
These insurrectionists,
like Antifa,
and that there were actual officers working with this, and we never got to the bottom of that, and we never got any answers about that, and then to this day we're just supposed to pretend that that never happened.
What about Antifa?
I have no idea what happened to the people on the inside who were very clearly sympathetic with what was going on and opening the doors wide open for that. And I'm supposed to sit here and pretend like none of that ever happened.
Why is it that the United States Capitol couldn't be adequately secured when the Pentagon clearly knew the possible threat? Well, probably because they were in on that possible threat. The whole thing was meant to be a false flag event. Nothing but delays and refusals when it came to actually securing the Capitol on the day of. Not to mention all the interesting characters in the crowd riling up the mob, taking advantage of the psychological phenomenon known as mob mentality. Zero effort to actually secure the Capitol on the day, but a whole lot of effort post January 6th to hunt down simple trespassers like dogs, going after them with a full might of the justice system, and in some cases, locking them up without bond, putting them in solitary confinement, or charging them excessively for non-violent offenses. Anyways, another conspiracy theory turns out to be less of a theory and more just conspiracy. Add another one to the list. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.